Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch, and welcome today to a world exclusive, or at least I'm claiming it as one, as I go hands-on with what is undoubtedly the most hotly anticipated affordable watch of 2025, the new Casio Auto. Honestly, if you had told me even 6 months ago that I would be putting those two words consecutively in the same sentence, I would have told you you were mad. And yet here we are. Casio has been making watches for 50 years, and they must have made hundreds of millions, literally hundreds of millions of them over the course of that half century. Every single one of them, though, has been quartz. Until now. So what I thought I'd do today is split the video into two. I'll start with a full review, or at least as comprehensive as it can be given that I just picked the watch up today. Dimensions, specifications, wrist shots, indoor, outdoor, macro footage, etc, etc. Then I'm going to ask a couple of questions. The first being why? Why after 5 decades of pure quartz did Casio decide that this was the time to branch out into mechanical watches? And the second and possibly the most important question, should you buy one? Let's flip the camera and find out. All right, let's get into it. But before I open the Jiffy bag today, I'd like to say a big thank you to Casio Australia, specifically Sophie, for organising the loan of these two. I believe there are 2 different samples in the bag. And clearly, she spared no expense. It is a genuine Jiffy bag here. I'm delighted to get a hold of these today. The embargo on these only lifted about 8 hours ago. I am literally just off the scooter. My hands are still cold. I popped up to see Sophie at their offices in Chatswood, and she gave me 2 of these on loan. Right, before I open the bag, let's have a look at the range on the website. Now, this is part of the EREBUS lineup. Makes total sense for it to be an EREBUS, as I'll discuss a bit later on. Looks like there are going to be 4 different versions available. The first with a carbon dial, a forged carbon dial. The other 3 with dials designed to mimic the forged carbon dial, but not actually forged carbon. As I said, people have been all over this one. There have been leaks across the internet for several months now. There is a full carbon version available as well. What is not available at the moment is the price. People have been guessing the prices now for a couple of weeks, from just under $300 for the standard dials, just over $300 for the carbon dials, up to just around the $500 US price point if you want the full carbon case with the carbon dial. And you know what? That's what I believe I have here. This one should be the bracelet version with the forged carbon dial, and indeed it is. And this one should be the forged carbon dial with the all carbon case. Yep, indeed it is. So then, why did Casio choose to launch their first mechanical watch wearing an EREBUS badge? Why is it part of the EREBUS lineup? Well, when you think about it, Casio doesn't have too many options. It doesn't have too many ranges that they could have slotted this entry-level mechanical into. Oceanus is perhaps a little bit too premium. Also, it's not international in the way that EREBUS is, so I think it's the right choice. It's got the right spec mix, this one, as well, with sapphire crystal and stainless steel, 100 meters of water resistance. So I may as well give you the dimensions and the rest of the specifications while I am here. 39 mil in diameter, 12.5 mil thick with a 43.5 lug to lug. Lug width is definitely not applicable today, effectively integrated. Look, that's going to be something silly like 16, and I'm sure Casio will sell you a rubber strap, but you ain't fitting something from your strap collection between those tiny lugs, believe me. Weight as supplied on this stainless steel, it's a kind of decent stainless steel bracelet. Size for my 7-inch wrist is 138 grams. Flat sapphire crystal with no anti-reflective undercoating, 100 meters of water resistance from a push-pull crown, and the movement in the back. Why don't I show you it? Yes, my friends, if that looks familiar, you're not wrong. It's a Seiko NH35. Casio may have released their first automatic watch, but they didn't manufacture their own caliber. They bought an off-the-shelf one like a million other micro brands do. Oh well, at least it's a known quantity and one that we all know and I think love as well. Now it says front sapphire crystal, suggesting that the case back glass is only mineral, cased in China, no surprises there, automatic, the model name, water resistance 100 meters. A familiar sight, but in an unfamiliar location. And the rest of the watch is pretty much par for the course. It's pretty much what you'd expect from an entry-level mechanical watch from any of the other big Japanese brands, frankly. So the case finish is okay, perhaps a little bit too much high polish bezel, high polish flanks, just brushed upper lug surfaces. Unsigned crown as well, by the way, which is again just what you'd expect at this price point. I like the bracelet though, those are solid links, push pins holding it all together, nice brushing to the upper surfaces, including that mid link. There is a high polish leading edge, and it's an EREBUS standard clasp here, double security pushers, milled scissor, but the usual, not quite enough levels of micro adjustment, only one hole either way. The dial is without a doubt this watch's best feature though. Lovely piece of forged carbon here, it looks very good and it's not often that you see it in this style of kind of everyday Gada piece. Applied indices, double at the 12, there's a neatly integrated, if not quite colour matched, date complication down there at the 6 o'clock. They haven't over branded it or over cluttered the dial with text either. There is a angled rehaut with minute markers and another little ring there, the indices almost cantilever off that. Handset semi-skeletonized with loom at the tips, very simple needle second hand, high polished handset, high polished indices, not massively legible. Perhaps go for one of the other colour versions if that is important to you, but the dial and handset do look pretty rich for the price. On wrist, it's neat and tidy, it's a nice set of dimensions, and it does wear rather like an integrated bracelet watch. Not exactly a wrist hugger, this one. Protruding case back, and the lugs don't angle down far enough for it to truly hug the wrist. It does feel like it's sitting on top of the wrist a bit, and do bear in mind you don't have an awful lot of adjustment, so chances are you will be wearing this one loose. But again, it looks good, but not as good as the all carbon watch. This is, I reckon, the standout of the range. Yeah, definitely worth paying extra for the carbon dial if you want the bracelet version. This is an interesting proposition for an all carbon cased carbon dial watch on a rubber strap for approximately, possibly around the $500 US mark. Indeed, that's half the price of the Tissot PRX carbon. Casio undoubtedly trying to mow Tissot's grass there. This one only weighs 89 grams and it does have a properly colour matched date wheel as well as darker gunmetal hands and indices. As a consequence though, legibility on this one is even more marginal than it was on the other carbon dial version. The carbon case does look very nice though, and the rubber strap on this one appears to be very securely attached to the case. There's a screw bar running through either end, I presume through that end link here, as well as spring bars holding it on as well. So you definitely won't be losing either side of this in a hurry. It's FKM rubber, it's EREBUS branded, and it has also EREBUS branded coated hardware. And being a Japanese watch, it has one of those back to front deployants. No matter how many Seikos I buy, I just can't get used to that, I'm afraid. Like I said though, you should be able to undo the screws, wedge out the spring bars and swap it over if it is all too much for you as well. But do bear in mind the EREBUS logo will then be upside down on your wrist. Looks good though, and nice and light at under 90 grams, even if I can't quite tell what the time is from here. Moans and niggles, I know I only just opened the Jiffy bag, but there are a few things that are pretty obvious already. Not a lot of grip on that crown. To manually wind this watch, you're rolling it forward. Yeah, it's a bit too slippery. Perhaps Casio are used to making high polished crowns for quartz watches that only ever come out once every couple of months to adjust the date. Not a lot of micro adjust positions, and they are fairly long links, so like I said, you're probably going to be wearing it loose. And legibility, particularly on the carbon version, is notional at best. This one gives the old stealthy Casio that everybody bought in 2020 a serious run for its money in that regard. So then, why did Casio decide to make their first mechanical watch after 50 years in business, and should you buy one? Well, it doesn't take a genius to work out why they made it, does it? Yes, that's right. Money. It must have been particularly galling for Casio to watch Orient, Citizen and Seiko boom over the last 10 years, enjoying the resurgence of mechanical watches whilst being restricted to only making quartz watches themselves, a restriction that none of those other manufacturers have. So yeah, it kind of makes sense for Casio to jump on the mechanical bandwagon. Are they a bit late though? Do you have one of these in your collection already? I like what they've done, particularly with this carbon dial and with the all-carbon version. They've at least tried to differentiate this from every other Japanese affordable mechanical watch. But they've got some serious catching up to do because all the other Japanese brands have been making this style of watch for decades already. Should you buy one though? Well, I guess it depends how many of those other Japanese brands' affordable mechanical watches you have in your collection already. And also it depends on whether or not you've tried the Oceanus range. If you are alright with quartz, then I would probably suggest you have a good look at the Oceanus T200 and S100 before you pull the trigger on one of these. But I have no doubt they're going to sell really, really well. It's not often you get this chance to buy the very first of its kind, the very first mechanical watch by a brand that has never made a mechanical watch and yet has a rich and storied 50-year history making other types of affordable watches. Will I be buying one? Well, you probably already knew the answer to that before you clicked on the video. So there you have it. Thanks for watching, and thanks again to Sophie from Casio Australia for loaning me these two. Why not check out those two Oceanus I referenced, or the Seiko SRPE that made a cameo a couple of minutes ago. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you in the next one.